Rome, the most powerful city in the ancient world, a city of wealth, power, ambition. Yet on this night, none of that matters, because an entire city block is burning. Families scramble into the streets, carrying whatever they can save. Merchants watch years of work disappear in smoke. Property owners stand helpless as flames consume everything they own. And then, a wealthy Roman arrives. Not with government officials, not with soldiers, but with a business proposal. As the fire spreads, he offers to purchase the burning buildings for a fraction of their value. The owners have only moments to decide: sell or lose everything. For most people, disaster meant ruin. For one man, disaster meant opportunity. His name was Marcus Licinius Crassus, and that mindset would make him the richest man in Rome. Imagine living in the most powerful nation on earth, a nation so wealthy and dominant that its influence would shape the world for centuries. Now imagine becoming richer than almost everyone in that nation. Not a king, not an emperor, not a conqueror, a businessman. More than 2,000 years ago, one man accumulated a fortune so enormous that historians still debate how much it would be worth today. Some estimates place his wealth in the billions of dollars. Others believe he controlled such a large portion of Rome's economy that even modern billionaires would struggle to match his influence. His name was Marcus Licinius Crassus. He owned vast estates, controlled armies of workers, influenced politicians, and built one of the greatest fortunes in human history. But Crassus didn't become rich by discovering gold. He didn't build his fortune through military conquest. Instead, he mastered something far more powerful: opportunity. When others saw disaster, Crassus saw profit. When buildings burned, he made money. When political enemies lost everything, he bought their property. And while Rome's elite fought for power, Crassus quietly built an empire. But his rise came with a dark side, one built on crisis, influence, and relentless ambition. To understand how Marcus Licinius Crassus became the richest man in Rome, we have to begin during one of the most violent periods in Roman history. By the 1st century BC, Rome was rapidly becoming the dominant power of the Mediterranean world. Its armies conquered new territories, its economy expanded, its influence grew. But beneath the surface, Rome was unstable. Powerful families competed for control. Political rivals became enemies. Generals fought not only foreign wars, but each other. The Republic was slowly tearing itself apart. Then came civil war. One of the era's most powerful figures was Lucius Cornelius Sulla. After defeating his enemies, Sulla seized control of Rome and launched a campaign known as the proscriptions. Lists of enemies were posted throughout the city. If your name appeared on one of those lists, your future was over. Many were executed. Others fled. Families lost everything: their homes, their businesses, their land, all confiscated by the state. Rome suddenly found itself flooded with valuable property. Most people were terrified. Crassus was excited. While others saw uncertainty, he saw opportunity. As confiscated estates entered the market, Crassus began buying aggressively. Luxury homes, commercial buildings, farmland, entire estates. Many were selling for a fraction of their true value. The government wanted quick sales. Few people were willing to buy. Crassus stepped in, and the foundation of his fortune began to take shape. But cheap real estate wasn't what made Crassus famous. His most controversial business strategy was still ahead. Crassus understood something that every great investor eventually learns. Fortunes are often built during periods of fear, not prosperity. While others waited for stability to return, Crassus continued buying. He possessed one major advantage: capital. In an age where land represented wealth, Crassus had the resources to purchase assets others couldn't. One by one, he acquired valuable properties throughout Rome. Many had once belonged to the city's elite. Others had been abandoned during political turmoil. To most Romans, they represented risk. To Crassus, they represented future profits, because he understood a simple truth. Eventually, the chaos would end, and when it did, property values would rise. Every building would become more valuable. Every estate would generate income. Every investment would compound. Today, investors call this purchasing distressed assets. Crassus was doing it more than 2,000 years ago. Imagine buying prime Manhattan real estate after a market collapse. That was the opportunity Crassus saw, and he took advantage of it repeatedly. Yet even real estate wasn't the source of his greatest wealth. That distinction belonged to a business strategy that became legendary throughout Rome. A strategy involving one of the city's greatest fears: fire. Ancient Rome had a problem. Most buildings were made from wood. Open flames were everywhere, and fires spread rapidly. Entire neighborhoods could disappear overnight. For most Romans, fire meant catastrophe. For Crassus, it meant opportunity. According to ancient sources, Crassus assembled a private fire brigade. Hundreds of workers stood ready, but there was a catch. When a building caught fire, Crassus didn't immediately send his men into action. First, he negotiated. Representatives would approach the terrified owner and make an offer. Sell the property immediately at a deeply discounted price. The owner faced an impossible choice: accept the offer or watch everything burn. Many sold. Once the deal was completed, Crassus's workers moved in. Fires were extinguished, buildings were salvaged, and another asset was added to his growing empire. Some historians debate parts of these accounts. Ancient writers often exaggerated. Yet the story endured because it perfectly captured Crassus's reputation. He saw value where others saw destruction, opportunity where others saw panic, profit where others saw disaster. And with every acquisition, his empire expanded. Soon, Crassus controlled vast sections of Rome. But even that wasn't his greatest advantage. His greatest advantage was the machine he built behind the scenes. Most wealthy Romans owned slaves. Crassus built an organization. His workforce included builders, architects, accountants, managers, teachers, administrators, highly skilled specialists capable of operating every part of his empire. When he acquired a damaged building, he already had workers to restore it. When a property required management, he had administrators ready. When repairs were needed, he controlled the labor. Everything stayed inside his operation. Today, we call this vertical integration. Centuries later, industrial giants would use the same strategy. Crassus understood it long before the modern corporation existed. Acquire, improve, rent, profit, repeat. The system worked beautifully. His empire became a self-sustaining machine. The more assets he owned, the more income he generated. The more income he generated, the more assets he could acquire, and the cycle continued. Yet even extraordinary wealth wasn't enough, because in Rome there was something more valuable than money: power. Money could buy comfort, influence, access. But Crassus wanted something greater. He wanted power. One man stood at the height of military fame: Pompey. Another was rapidly becoming one of Rome's most influential politicians: Julius Caesar. Each possessed something the others lacked. Pompey had military prestige, Caesar had popularity, Crassus had wealth. Together, they formed the First Triumvirate, one of the most influential political alliances in Roman history. Crassus became its financial engine, funding campaigns, supporting allies, providing resources. For the first time, the richest man in Rome had become one of its most powerful men. But there was one thing he still lacked: glory, and that desire would ultimately destroy him. By 53 BC, Crassus had everything: money, influence, power. Yet he remained dissatisfied. History celebrated conquerors, not businessmen. And when Crassus looked at Caesar and Pompey, he saw something he could never purchase: military greatness. Determined to change that, he launched an invasion of Parthia, a wealthy kingdom to the east. He expected victory. Instead, he found disaster. Near the town of Carrhae, Roman forces encountered the Parthian army. What followed was one of Rome's greatest military defeats. Parthian horse archers attacked relentlessly. Roman tactics failed. Thousands died. Thousands more were captured. The campaign collapsed, and so did Crassus's dreams. During negotiations following the battle, Crassus was killed. His pursuit of glory had ended in catastrophe. Legend claims molten gold was poured into his mouth after death. Whether true or not, the symbolism was unmistakable. The richest man in Rome had spent his life chasing wealth, and died chasing something wealth could never buy. More than 2,000 years later, Marcus Licinius Crassus remains one of history's most fascinating business figures. He understood distressed investing, real estate acquisition, vertical integration, and strategic influence, long before modern corporations existed. Yet his story is also a warning. For decades, every risk he took paid off. Every decision made him richer. Every opportunity expanded his influence. Success became expectation. Expectation became confidence. Confidence became overconfidence. His wealth could buy assets. It could buy influence, but it could not eliminate risk, and it could not guarantee victory. In the end, Marcus Licinius Crassus achieved what few people ever have. He became the wealthiest man in the most powerful nation on earth. But his rise and his fall remind us that the greatest danger isn't having too little. It's believing that what got you to the top can never bring you down. Marcus Licinius Crassus proved that fortunes can be built through opportunity, timing, and ambition. But compared to the man we'll cover next, even Rome's richest citizen may look modest. Centuries later, another ruler would accumulate so much wealth that his spending reportedly affected entire economies. His name was Mansa Musa, and his fortune may have surpassed everyone in history. Subscribe to Empire Builders and join us next time as we explore the story of the richest man who ever lived.